Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Board of Supervisors meeting for the fabulous town of Sevastopol for Monday, May 20th. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This could be an interesting.
Could be very interesting.
Could be very interesting. All right. Roll call to establish a quorum, Amy.
Supervisor Mark Hain.
Here.
Supervisor Jeannie Vogel.
Here.
Chairman Don Wolfel.
Here.
Supervisor Linda Waite.
Here.
Supervisor Trent Olson.
Here. All right. Well, I'd like to have a little, well, we'd love to start with Jim. How would you like to introduce yourself, Jim? Because we don't know who you are.
My name,
It's on.
It's on.
We can hear you.
I'm Jim Mitchie, 4159 Bay Shore Drive.
All right. Are we at? All right, try it again, Jim.
Whoa. Speak.
I am Jim Mitchie, 4159 Bay Shore Drive.
Perfect.
Hallelujah.
Good evening. I'm Hugh Zettel, 3986 Glidden Drive, and District 14 County Board Supervisor.
Nothing on that mic.
I'll let you have him speak again. Bill Schuster, 4095 Glidden Drive.
Kurt Carlson, Sevastopol Board, Chief, 5327 Million Drive.
And Dale Vogel. Flag 6417, Fitzroy Drive.
Yeah, Frank Pepper, 6449, Road.
Okay. So, I have no idea. Are we recording, Laddie?
Yes.
For those of you at home, we are having some audio difficulties tonight, so please bear with us. All right.
Eric, the camera's on you.
Derek, Derek Denise, Country Road.
All right.
Larry Chapman, Glidden Drive.
All right, good enough. Sorry, that was a little painful. All right, anyone wishing to speak on any non-agenda items this evening?
I would.
You do.
I am Jim Mitchie, 4159 Bay Shore Drive. I saw in the Pulse newspaper maybe an issue or two ago something of interest that a bike corridor study is moving forward. Perhaps you're aware of it. I was enthusiastic. It's a study that's just beginning to create a bike path from Sister Bay to Egg Harbor, and noted that with interest because I've long believed that silent sports like biking is one of the very great things about living here, and certainly to draw tourists. So if the Parks and Recreation Committee is not aware of it, they should be aware of it, and I recommend that they liaise with this study to integrate what we have here in Sevastopol already with that study, so that it can be a uniform system. That's all.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay. Oh, all right. Let's go to the agenda and hope the sound noticed, Amy?
The agenda was properly noticed.
All right, that's good to know. How about a motion to adopt?
Go ahead.
I move to adopt the agenda as noticed.
All right, motion by Linda, second by
I'll second that motion.
Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, away we go. Motion, agenda, good to go. Approval of minutes, Board of Supervisors meeting from April 15th and the road tour minutes from May 3rd. Should have all had a good chance to eyeball those, so a motion to approve would be in order.
I would move to approve approve the minutes of, our board minutes of April 15th and our road tour minutes of May 3rd with the addition of the Glidden Drive access lanes notes that we have from the road tour.
And those notes are on your desk. They were inadvertently
Left over.
dropped, but you have all had a chance to look at them. So I have a motion by Linda with the addition of the notes from the road tour that were turned in to Amy.
I'll second.
Second by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good enough. First order of business is we have a newsletter update. And Linda, I believe we will give you that floor.
Is this going to be an update or a scolding?
Yes, you want me to mention the delinquents by name?
Please.
Okay. So I've sent several reminders now that we need to have our articles by June 1st if we want to meet our July 1st out in the mailboxes. So those delinquencies are from Trent Olson, I need an intro as your supervisor. Jeannie Vogel, I need something from AT&T to tell us what's going on in the neighborhood.
I have spoken to Robin.
Mark Hain, I need something from the Park and Rec Committee. And Laddie Chapman, I need something for our, either on behalf of the video or the station or YouTube or whatever. So if we can please get those in so that we have drafts to review. And then also, if we can get it out in the mail by July 1st, we can mention the Sevastopol FFA Farm Breakfast, which will happen on Saturday, July 6th. Yes, July 6th.
And possibly
So-
staying on Saturday going forward.
I know,
Possibly staying on Saturdays going forward, too.
It
Right.
actually is going to probably stay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're normally on the first Sunday in July, and sometimes they conflict with the 4th of July festivities, so it is Saturday, July 6th this year. So please get me your articles. If you don't get them to me, I guess you won't be included in the newsletter, so. there you
please,
go.
It's that easy?
please.
Just,
Amy, is it legal to just withhold pay?
yeah, I can. No.
That's kind of what I
fine.
thought. So those of you looking to get any kind of pay would please turn in an article. It would be greatly appreciated.
By
All right.
duress.
Under duress.
Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Glidden Lanes, the right-of-ways. And where do we start with this? I think over the course of a few months, we have talked about the fact that we had, I think actually started last fall, that we had entered into an agreement to have our lanes surveyed and our titles researched. There were a number of lanes on Glidden Drive that we're constantly getting questions on as to who, what, where, when, and how. And so in order to try and resolve something that's been an open issue for 20-plus years, we went out and had all of that work done. And we received the surveys back about 45 days ago. And they were very enlightening. We surveyed 6 of our lanes. We also surveyed some lanes for Glidden Drive Association, but that was paid for by them. We just did it as a bundle with what we had done. We concentrated for the most part on the access lanes that everybody drives by, which are either 50 or 60 feet wide, 4 of which go only to the water, 2 of which go from the water back into the roadside. And what we did then was we added to our road tour agenda the stopping at each of these lanes with the entire town board so that we could come up with a unified decision on how we're going to treat these lanes. 2 of them are pretty much perfect the way they are with a little tweak. We have another 2 that are with a little tree trimming and a little of this and that would be okay, and we have a couple that are tunneled in, and it'd be difficult to know that there's beach access there. So we went out and reviewed where the stakes were, both on the beach side and the road side for these things. We took with us the surveys so that everybody had an idea exactly where the encroachments were. We had encroachments that included propane tanks, wells, flagstone steps, electrical lights strung into the thing, electrified fence for deers, gates, a pretty wide variety of things that encroached. And so from that, we took some notes basically on some of the things that we think that we needed to do. And I started to draft a letter to identify those things specifically to the landowners on either side. And just for the benefit of this, I'll just kind of go through the really cursory observations. Hemlock Lane, some rocks, old wood, dilapidated fence, and brush should be cleared on the water side, and there is a guardrail in place. Arrowhead, area needs to be widened for access to the water side. Significant encroachments include woodpile, gates, electric fencing, also a shed that's being constructed on our right, or just off our right-of-way, which appears not to have a permit. White Pine Lane, property owner of the south should be notified of an encroaching LP tank. Also need to have that relocated. Deer Path Lane needs cleanup and reinstallation of a guardrail on the water side. The split rail fence on the north side that should be removed. There's an LP tank that needs to be moved, as well as some miscellaneous trash. Sorry. Also, there are some signs that need to be relocated, redone. The signs, not only, and I say not only on Deer Path, but on all of these lanes, we will need to provide new signage to identify the lane as public, and also to address any questions with respect to parking, beach access, private property rights. Bittersweet Lane brush needs a brush out to the water side. There's encroachments of stone walkways, decorative posts, and electrical outlets well into our right-of-way, maybe almost 30 feet in. Evergreen is an interesting one. It belongs to the county. It is not a town road. It is public, and it does have a guardrail. And in doing the research on Evergreen, which I thought was kind of interesting, so I'll just take a second to talk about it. Back in 1962, an individual traded with the county a piece of property to make Evergreen Lane where it is today. And in turn, Evergreen Lane was given, the property was given to this individual to make a buildable lot. I don't know how that came about in 1962 or the process, but the county is aware that it is their property, and it is marked currently public. Goldenrod, we have to move a sign, and there's wood railings on the north side of the property. This is being done in consensus with the Glidden Drive Association, so they are aware of what's going on. We did some of their lanes as well, and as I indicated, they're paying for that. So they wanted to know where their property stood as well. So with that, we have put together for the board, you have a copy of a draft letter that I started, and that'll go to each of the landowners with a copy of the survey with all of the items marked on that survey that are in our right-of-way, and tell them the things that need to be removed, moved, relocated, whatever the case might be. And we are going to give them more than adequate time to do that. We're also intent on marking all of our lot lines with metal fence posts, which currently are not in place. We will put new signage at each lane facing the water indicating parking restrictions, whether fires are allowed, trespassing. In addition, for those people who are on the water side, we've had one sign already made up which will say private property, end of public access. There'll be one placed on each of the lot lines to the north and south, so that when the public does go down there, they understand where they can go or sit without creating issues with either set. We will have our contractor, we'll go out with the contractor, and we will mark trees and brush that need to be removed, which will be done at our expense. But we will not be doing any clear cutting. I mean, there are a couple of lots where there's literally 25, 30 feet of solid trees. But we will make an attempt to open those lanes up so that they're easily accessible. And those lanes, those areas will be marked with orange tape prior to cutting, so there'll be an opportunity for any landowner to come in and say, I question whatever it is, and we can make some decisions, so people don't have to lose a lot of sleep over this as a starting point. But they will have to take and deal with the encroachments, and we will create an unobstructed access. So that's the draft. I think we are in agreement on what our strategy is, but I'd like to take a couple of minutes with the board and get your concurrence, and if you have any suggested changes to this draft letter, you can feed them back to Amy, and we can revise them as needed. So hopefully that made sense. So, comments from anyone?
Mr. Chairman, when you say, could I give you, talk about this briefly?
Sure. Any comments from anyone on the board?
I think it's pretty thorough. I think it's
Yeah.
covered everything that we talked about when we were out on the tour. I don't know if we need to clarify that encroachments must be removed, our landowner's expense, but brushing and tree removal will be at town expense.
Yeah,
It's a good one.
it's a good point.
Unless they want, if they have their own person to do the tree removal.
Well, they can do that. We'll mark what has to be done. I mean, if they want
I think we
to.
should find that out, if they're gonna do it themselves, or if it's gonna be ours, so we kinda
I
give
would
them a
be,
date
Why
or
would they do
something.
I would be surprised that somebody would want to pay for something
Yeah.
that we're
Why
going to
would
pay
they?
for.
You get picky on your own property sometimes, it's not their
But it's
property,
not their
but
property.
they think it is.
But it's not.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Anything else relative to the letter or comments? Okay, Laddie touched base with me just before the meeting and wanted to talk about the lanes. If you recall, he created a document centuries ago,
2008.
2008. That's a long, at any rate. He did some homework back then and had some comments, so go ahead, Laddie.
Okay, I was just concerned because it looked like you intended to survey all the lanes that didn't have surveys, but a few were left out. Now, they're probably not that significant, but they are in the list. Especially, there's one called Short Street, 50 feet long. It's the edge of Shivering Sands Creek. There is one that's much longer, Woodland Lane. It goes from Glidden to Smoke Drive.
Is that the one on the curve, where the kind of the S curve where the new house is up for construction?
No, this is almost across the street from Goldenrod. I think it was intended to be the Goldenrod on the other side of the road.
Never
It's
heard
a
of
little
it.
farther south from that, but that was the intention, I think. Let's see, there's also one called Fernwood Lane. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I was describing Fernwood Lane. That's the one that's almost across from Goldenrod.
Say that again, Len.
Fernwood Lane, it's almost across from Goldenrod. I mean, most of those lanes in 1937 went across Glidden to Smoke Drive. And they were severed and separated sometime later. The Fernwood, I'm sorry, Woodland Lane, I'm not quite sure where that is, but it does not go to the beach. And then, of course, there's Smoke Drive, which I assume is owned by the town, and that's almost as long as, well, it's several miles long,
Right.
quite undeveloped, but it has been bulldozed. I don't know if you want to bother surveying, that could be a rather big project.
No.
Okay.
And actually, we were chasing down, what started all of this was access, beach access. So we concentrated on those properties that went to the water. And of course, there, like you said, there were a couple, Arrowhead and Deer Path, I think, that went both sides of the street.
Yes.
And most all of these lanes are used as driveway access as well for properties. So we'll make provision that those people don't get locked out of their access. But we've gone over the Schmack Road thing, and it's an unplatted area that we're not going to deal with, and and have no intentions to do anything with. And Fernwood and Woodland, I'd have to check, but my guess is we wouldn't probably go back and take on that simply because it probably doesn't impact anybody. So,
I could help you with that.
Sure.
Fernwood would be the access that goes into the Baldwin's property, and there's a little house that uses access. So it's right with that new house on S, that driveway.
oh, that road going
Right,
back?
that goes to Dick's
Oh.
property and. the
Okay, I'm
house.
aware. That's what I was thinking he mentioned.
Okay.
All right.
And then Woodland, and actually, in year 2000, I convinced Leo to survey, get part of this survey. But Woodland is right across from the town property that is on both sides of Shivering Sands, which I'd like
La Follette.
to talk to you about. So when Laddie's done, I may be able to add some more to this conversation, which will help you understand how a number of those lanes are presently being used. So if I can, after Laddie gets done speaking,
Well,
or I can speak now. whatever
sure.
works.
The parcel that you're talking about, Shivering Sands, the road you're saying that goes which way? On the roadside or the?
It's, Woodland Lane goes from Glidden to Smoke Drive, 3 lots north of Shivering Sand Creek.
So this
Hold
is
on.
Short Road, which you applied to, so the creek comes through, the town owns property on
Both sides, right.
There's Longtime used fishermen. Short Road is right here, and Woodland is right here. Part of my comments, you should have a copy of that, because Leo gave me that one. Part of my comments was I'm hoping that you're going to include this, which is really used as a park, and part of your signage, because people fish there, and some of us did as
Bill,
kids.
could you use a mic, please, because
I-
just pick it up and carry it with you.
That's right. I think the,
So this would be north, so Shivering Sands.
right,
And there's a trail that comes in on both
Both
sides.
sides.
There's a parking spot here.
Yep.
Short is right there. The power line is about right on the edge of it. Woodland, you have the, what's his name?
La Follette.
The Follette.
Right,
Then
and
there's
that's
this-
where he parks his
No,
car?
he parks at a little parking spot that's right here.
Yep.
You have La Follette's property here, and then there's a thin little property that's owned by Doorline Preserve, but then Woodland is an access
Oh,
that people use to get onto all the TNC property.
I-
So this is a real important access place to a bunch of well, it's not public, it's owned by TNC Nature Conservancy,
Okay.
but it's used.
Is it an actual developed lane?
No.
I was gonna say, because I've been there.
It's-
I've
you can see
actually,
the pins, you can see the pins on at least one side. And that's what I would encourage you to look at. I'm breaking rules here, so. I'd encourage you to, there's 2 other lanes on the interior that, let's go back to my notes, that are used by the public to get to the TNC property. So the right across from, excuse me, tell me when I've talked too much. But,
you're close. No,
I know,
sorry.
I know. I've been waiting for you to shut me down.
We just turn off the AV. That doesn't work right now.
So what I'm hoping to encourage you today is to include that property in your signage, because as some of you may know, there's been some concern, adjacent landowner chasing people off, that landowner's now moved away. That's very active for fishing and such. The other point, if you have any question about those lanes, I can fill you in more on them. I've been chasing this for 30 years now. The other point that maybe, I don't know if Laddie was going to bring it up, the lanes that you referred to, Deer Path, Hemlock, Bittersweet, and Arrowhead,
Right.
are all 60-foot wide,
A couple of them are 50, but
50 or
50,
60
60,
feet
right.
lanes. All of them have what are referred to by some people as wings, but as you get closer to the water, there's 50-foot wide pieces of property that are not owned by the people that have houses behind them. On some of the plats, it's referred to as common area, and others they're referred to as dedicated to
Lot owner.
lot owners. Now,
I'm
there's
not
been the debate whether that theoretically should go to the association, or because it was platted at the same time as when the roads were platted, that the intent was to provide beach access on both sides of those lanes. So every one of those lanes, those spots are either 150 or 160 feet wide at the water. For,
That's not what our surveys are showing.
no, your survey, you just survey the lane. These are, can I approach again?
Sure. Your Honor. Oh, no, just kidding.
Well, I know about security here. I'm sorry.
Now, I mean, on Goldenrod Lane,
Not
it
go-
is.
Goldenrod's
it-
the
there's-
exception,
I know, but I'm just
Dan.
saying, on Goldenrod Lane, on the roadside, there's an apron, that the area on the road is actually wider.
Dan, goldenrod is the exception. It does not have the wings, it does not have the widening
No.
thing. Most of those are 60 feet
All right.
wide, and they widen to 180 feet, 3 times 60.
Okay, so if you can see this one right
Yeah.
here, so 4 of them are like that. So the conflict that has happened over the, I shouldn't say conflict, it's people have assumed that they owned or used that property in
They
front
have
of the,
riparian rights down to the.
They don't.
bar.
But they don't if
But-
that's not
well,
on their
that's-
it's not their property.
That's not their property.
The way I think, and things weren't recorded and done right, as we all know, the intent, and this is just my theory, is that was the idea of having beach access next to the lanes. All 4 of those have it. If indeed one were to make the decision that it should be the association, which I would argue against, even though I'm an association member, if it's considered association property, all the citizens of Sevastopol will be told they can't use that property. So what I would encourage you to do is, I'm hoping what you're going to do is take another look at these 4 lanes and look at those beach access on both sides of them and think about the 160 feet of beach access that exists. Now, because I was involved in a piece of property where there was a challenge on the public wasn't using it and it was lost in Davis Harbor a number of years, Sonia and I, that's my wife, she's dead, but we had a picnic on every one of these every few years just to establish public use. So anyhow, that's my 2 requests is that, one, you look at Shivering Sands and mark that because it's the most used public park. That's not marked, it's not a park, it's not a park. And that you take a look at these wings, common use, or whatever you want to call them on those 4.
But
And then the third item is, and I'm happy you've looked at surveying the interior ones, because those are what the public uses to get back to, hundreds of acres of public land from the TNC.
Well, I don't have any problem with this strip down Shivering Sands, and maybe the easy one, it would be at some point in time, I can meet you out there and we can physically go visit those 2 sites.
I'd be more than happy to do that.
So that I'm on the same page. I think I know where you're talking, but it
Right.
won't hurt to
I'd
have
be more than
somebody.
happy to do that. I pretty much killed all your poison ivy. It took me about 20 years. But
If I could elaborate a little on this dialogue, if you watch the video that I made, actually 2 videos, with John Brogan, he explains why and how those lanes came to be, because the development prior to that Schmoke and Glidden had done in Indiana did not have easy access for the 2nd and 3rd tier of houses. They had a similar 3 rows of houses, but they didn't have a beach access. And they felt that over the time, the 2nd and 3rd tier people were 2nd and 3rd class citizens, and he said the area, quote, turned trashy, while the people on the waterfront, of course, kept their value. So when they came here, they resolved not to have that happen, which I think was very smart to do that.
Yes.
So they made not only frequent access, but they also made the expansion because they wanted to make sure that everybody had copious access to the beach, whether it's in front of their house or not.
Interesting.
And I don't know with the beach access piece, how we interact with that at all.
Why wouldn't the?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well,
Why would-
Could I make a suggestion?
If you put marks on just the 60-foot wide,
Right.
you will cast deeper in stone the people who are next to it that they have a right to chase the public away from the beach. That's what's going to happen. And that's where, and I'll keep arguing for the people who don't live on Glidden Drive, even though I live there. That's my family and the shipyard workers' opportunity to get to the beach. So, all right, I'm gone in 2 weeks, but if you'd love to, I'd more than happy to walk some of this with you.
Okay.
I'm flying out in 2 weeks.
We'll see.
Good?
I'd like a copy of that, and this, did you have another one of these?
We
Well,
might have one in
you
the
must
file.
be,
Okay.
because that's a photocopy that
I think
Leo
we have
gave
one in
me.
the file.
Oh, we do?
And,
Okay.
and signs were going to go up for this back in 2000, but
Which is another question that the GDA asked me regarding signage. I'm sorry, Linda, let's go back to the,
Can I make a
yeah.
suggestion? And we thought we had this all straightened out, right?
my
just,
notes
right
said
now-
thank you in the beginning.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster.
I'm really happy you're doing this, really, really happy.
Why don't
Thank you.
may I suggest we concentrate on the lanes that we do have the title reports and the surveys, get this project completed and the owners compliant before we tackle
Well,
more lanes.
here's what he's saying, which is, as part of my process, or our process,
He said, don't put
this
that up,
was gonna go down on the,
and we shouldn't put it up.
where the lot line stakes are, so one, that the lot lines don't, and this would then mark that property. Now, based on what he's saying, there's 2 properties where it would make no difference, but there's 4 where it might, and I don't know how that plays.
So we'd obviously have to keep them up.
There's more encroachment when you look.
Well, depending on where,
Because of these wings you're talking about?
yeah, depending on where those wings come to play, I mean, if you took a look at where our stakes or flags are,
All of them, yeah.
we're, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 yards from the water anyhow, so maybe we don't enter into that. I don't know. I'll have to find out.
But
If you've got time within the next 2 weeks, I'd be more than happy to show you
Yeah.
this.
Mr.
Well-
Chairman, is anyone complaining that people are trespassing on their beach? Because I don't think they are, unless you have had complaints.
I think they chase.
I think the signs would be rather ugly to put up every so many feet.
But once you
Unnecessary.
put, and this is Glidden's request too, and I didn't touch on it, but they're asking us to use uniformity with the signs. But once we put up new signs, for example, I forget, there's 2 of the lanes that I went to, one of the owners was there, I was there with the surveyor, and he swore up and down that this lane belonged to the county. And so where my car was parked was this large white sign that said Town of Sevastopol ordinance, blah, blah, blah. So I pointed that out to him. We still disputed whether it was ours or the town's. It gets into a mess. But once we do new signage, we put up new restrictions, fix a guardrail, clear out some of the openings, there's going to be some access and some issues. So if we don't put a sign up, all right, then I think we create a bigger problem. Because I have this problem, as you can well imagine, right now at Whitefish Bay, narrow strip of land, property owners adjoining on both sides, and a migration that goes like this. So even if the signs were to come down at a later date, I think I would put them up as soon as feasible once we start on this.
If anybody wants a copy of this thing that I did some years ago.
We
I'll make
have
sure
one
that
on the file.
Amy has it.
Yep, we have one.
Yeah, we have it. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just one question relative to the discussion, or the letters that you're going to point out, for the lanes where the property owners use it for access to their property.
Right.
Will you confirm whether or not they do in fact have easement rights, or just kind of
If they have what?
easement rights?
Easement?
To
Oh.
basically use that as a driveway? I just-
They couldn't. I mean, all they've done is take advantage of the fact that there's a lane and they just drive in. In fact, one of the lanes has a concrete pad right in the middle of it, and there's, the nearest house doesn't have a driveway. I mean, it's a gravel driveway. So the house must have been a lot closer, and there was a driveway, and the house got torn down and a new house built further back. The lanes are not plowed either. So they're all done privately, so that the county is not plowing them. So we need to do some homework on this, but I think to your point, Linda, you know, try and get these things going. This is going to take time. It's not going to be a next week, Wednesday project.
My question is why the surveyor wouldn't have seen that? Would the surveyor have looked at the adjacent properties to see what kind of access the adjacent properties actually had their ownership to down to the, you know, I mean, there's riparian rights at a certain point, but they have to own down that to the water
Yeah,
to do that.
I have no idea.
So that's why when they're talking about wings, then those people actually don't own it. And so the public should have absolutely be clear that they have the right to use it. That's absolutely right. I agree
Right.
with Bill.
Well,
I just picked a couple surveys that, you know, I have in front of me here. And
I didn't see that.
That doesn't show.
No, it doesn't show that.
Doesn't show a wing.
No,
I don't think on any of them.
no, they don't. It
it
doesn't.
might be reflected in the plat, but it's not reflected in anything else. And
1937 plat, Phil.
right, that's what I'm saying. It might reflect it on the plat, but it's not in anything. I'll,
Probably the assessor's office some time ago had a complaint from several owners that had the wings in front of them, and they complained they didn't have full use of their property. They'll have all their property, but they didn't have full use of it, and the assessors reduced their taxes as a result. They agreed with them.
well, I'll query the surveyor as a starting point. I think I mentioned too that the signage piece, Glidden would like us to try and do something similar.
So what you hired someone to do was survey the right-of-ways. These
Correct.
parcels are platted as common use areas. So they're different plotted properties. So you hired them to do this, you didn't tell them to do the common use plotted.
But it wouldn't,
They're just totally different parcels, you wouldn't have done those.
right, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't have anything to really do with the town. I mean, we are not the governing body over that vacant piece of land, or that piece of property. I wouldn't. I mean, if you told me they were, I wouldn't want to be. I mean, I'd need to put a guard up there, you know, I mean, I have this issue all the time where I live with a neighbor. I mean, I'll do some homework and try and get some answers on what's up with
Because
it.
they're plotted for public common use.
Yeah,
Either the county or the town owns them now.
I'll be really curious to hear the answer to this one, so, at any rate. Okay, no problem.
Definitely gotta bring this back.
Yeah.
It'll be
Yeah, well,
for
we'll
a
get,
while.
you know, we will, I'm sure that we'll have this as a topic of conversation for a while, so, all right. All we gotta do now is find my agenda. Ah, here we are. Okay. Oh, this is an easy one. Mighty Pioneers Park Project Acceptance. If you recall, when they did all the work over there, when they were completed, we had to formally accept it and make it ours so that we can fix, repair, whatever after that. So I believe everything's done. How about, what's your perspective on that, Mark? And if it is, why don't you make a motion to accept it? Is there anything left undone?
I guess the last thing was the repair of the ground. There's one little spot where they put the scoreboard in on the baseball field, and I can honestly say I'm not sure if they did that yet. And they had pitching screens was also part of that. They had 4 pitching screens, and those were delivered last week, and the softball and baseball team actually had a little fun and activity racing each other, put them together at practice, so
Okay.
that's all done, and I believe it's pretty well wrapped up.
All right. Well, let's assume that they took care of the dirt, and if not, we could probably chase them down for that.
Yeah, they're over there quite a bit.
Motion?
What's that?
Motion he asked for.
Yeah. Need a motion to accept those improvements.
Yes, I will make the motion to accept the improvements from the Mighty Pioneers Park project.
All right, motion by Mark, second by Trent. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Done, completed, thank you. By the way, we didn't mention it, but included in that were the 3 brand-new scoreboards, as well as other park enhancements, but those are the most visible portions of that task. All right, EMR bylaws. This is something we started last summer, I think, Trent. And with Trent, he has taken the time, I believe, and attended a meeting with EMRs. And why don't you tell us what's up with that, and then we'll come back to the pay piece.
Sure. So I met with Kurt Kroll from the EMRs. We went through various versions of bylaws. What we found was there was 4 or 5 different versions over the years that were being used. Nobody really knew what the most current one was or what the actual one was. So we picked the one that was written the best, had all the proper terminology for the EMR team. We went through, made some additions to it. I reviewed it with Kurt. Kurt sent it out to his team. So we were all set to go on that. We sent that to you to review, so if you'd like to go through those. So yes, as you said, I did attend an EMR meeting and plan to continue to attend those. The way we have that written in the bylaws is I'll attend the meetings. We'll go through any public business, anything that gets into a HIPAA violation, any confidential information, I'll leave before that comes out so they can have their discussions on that. Okay. One of the issue that we just wanted to bring up, because it was one of those rumors that was flying around, was that EMRs had some equipment purchased that they were not qualified or trained to use. There was a purchase made last year of some items that the EMR team should not be using. That was immediately segregated by the EMR team, and that was traded with the county so that the county could use it. And we ended up getting some like neck restraints back and that kind of thing, so that the money wasn't wasted. But our team's very good at knowing what they can and cannot use. So anything that they can't was segregated and has been gotten rid of. We did go through the inventory after the meeting.
And I believe I read in here that they will start taking minutes at these meetings?
Yes, that's correct.
And so it's a matter of business, would you have those minutes included? Provide Amy a copy so that she can include them in our monthly meetings?
Yeah, Trent took a copy with him, so I can make sure Amy's got them.
Yeah, Amy would be the focal point for that.
Yeah, we've always had minutes at the meetings. So yeah, we can gladly hand it over to Amy, so.
Okay, that'd be great. That would be great. Any comments from the board? Yes. You have some?
I'm just a stickler for punctuation. I think Mr. Hain is too. Like, when we're talking about our town board, it's capital T, capital B's. But thank you, Mr. Kroll and Mr. Olson, for catching most of them, but I still see a couple more. I'd be happy to point them out sometime. And I do have a couple other questions as well. And I have my draft from last fall and in January. Personal conduct, I think that's a new category. I didn't see it in the, which is fine, it's great.
Yeah, I believe this was from the 2014 version. It was in there.
Okay.
The 2014 version is really all this format. And then for some reason they got away from this and got back to that draft version, which was just kind of bullet points.
Actually, the one we went off, Linda, nobody knew we had. Amy actually found it for us.
Oh,
So we didn't know we had it, so you guys, I don't even think had seen it. Amy found it in a box, I believe, in her archives, so.
okay. And then I have a couple, so under general duty conduct, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth bullet point. Can EMRs, it says, cannot use red warning lights. You can put your flashers on when you're driving to the scene, right?
But they're
Yeah,
not
but those are
red.
yellow.
They aren't
We
red.
can't have the red lights like you, like.
No,
like 20 years ago when we started, we could put that little red plug-in light in our
Oh.
dash. Those are now banned.
So you can just use your vehicle emergency flashers?
Correct,
When you're
correct.
on,
Yep.
on the way. And then, under selection of a new member, it's page 5. The new member application will be submitted to the executive committee. Do you have an executive committee?
That was my question. Do we need to lay that out, what the exec
Or
committee is?
it just
That just comes in front of our members at a meeting.
maybe just
It should just
take
say
it to
committee
the
then.
board or
Yeah.
EMR board or whatever?
Yeah, or EMR committee. Or
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we should take care of that because we don't have an executive committee.
And to get a new one, actually, they're supposed to call the crew chief first, and then go from there, and then.
Because it does say that in a couple spots where it says it can come to the town board or to the crew chief. Then other spots it says executive committee. I think it says it like 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
So if we need to change that or say who the executive committee actually is,
Okay.
if it's all the officers or whatever. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we wanna call it the officer team, if that's better. I mean, if we get someone that sends us an application and it's off the wall, we're not even gonna bring it to the meeting. I mean, it's just,
And then on page 6, under the crew chief / treasurer, I know in previous drafts, there was like, when it came to purchasing equipment, can the crew chief just order it, or do you have like a limit before it needs to come to the entire committee, or?
we discuss it at every meeting, and if there's stuff we're out when we go through the cabinet, it's just myself or the assistant crew chief will order it.
I mean, we certainly trust your judgment on that, so.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Trent, do you want to make those final updates?
Yeah, yep, I'll update that, send it out to the board.
Okay, and then we'll just bring it back next month for approval?
Sure, yep.
Okay, that sounds
And
good.
Once we get approval, get them all signed by my crew, and then do we want Amy to take them and keep a file of them, that everybody has a copy of them, or how do we want to do that? I think we should have them sign off that they get a new copy of the bylaws, so.
Especially since I was asked to provide one of 14 different sets that I had, so yeah.
Well, that's just it. Trent had a couple different than what I had when I met with him that night, so.
Trent asked me that too, and I, was like, okay, which one would you like? Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
In fact, you could, I like that idea, that'd be terrific.
Is
And then
that-
Amy can keep it.
Is that in here? I think we could see it in there where it says they must know the bylaws, right?
Correct.
I think in one of them it says. that's
And
one
then
of
the
their
very last sheet is to
requirements.
sign that they
To
all
sign that.
received a
Yeah, it's-
copy.
yep.
So if they're, let's say we get into a disciplinary action and they're gonna fight tooth and nail,
I can see
you
it.
signed it, you read it, I mean, gives me a little more to be like, no, this ain't gonna happen.
I mean, it's just
kinda
like a
thing.
regular job. You have an employee handbook, you have to go
Right.
through it and sign off on it, so.
Absolutely.
Good job, guys.
Okay, good. So we'll bring that back next month with the corrections, and we'll get that one done. All right, you have other information in here, Trent. Why don't you talk me through that with respect to Kurt?
Yes, so a lot of towns will give their crew chief a small salary. I had suggested possibly doing about $100 a month, $1,200 a year to kind of cover Kurt's time doing all the administrative things. Kurt gets paid for going out on calls, but for his time of putting together the minutes and coordinating with his staff. It just thought it'd be nice to do a kind of a small salary to cover some of the administrative hours per month.
Okay. Comments, thoughts from the board?
I mean, we pay our dam master, so I don't see a problem with it. I don't know if the price is right or the price is wrong, but I don't see a problem with giving the crew chief a little something.
Jeannie, Linda, any
Who
comments?
does the minutes for you? Do you do the minutes, Kurt?
No, my secretary does the minutes.
You gonna share that with her?
Huh?
Nothing. At least take her out to lunch.
Well, it's not been the practice, correct?
No, no, go ahead.
The only comment I make.
Well, my take on it is there's always work associated with these different things. I would be more than open to compensating him just like we do any other town employee for his time. So if it takes him an hour or 2 hours or whatever for the month, I'd say submit a time card as he does for his other activities, and we pay them like we would pay any other employee for us. That would be my thought, but it's
That
up to
seems
you guys.
reasonable.
You could do that.
So,
Well, if you look at the other committees, for instance, our plan commission, which those members can submit per diems. Thankfully, they never do, or they haven't for a long, long time. But it's a process, request a per diem.
All of
Per meeting or
all of our
something like
committees
that.
can do
Right,
per
all
diem.
of our committees.
all of our committees can do that, correct?
Yeah, I've never,
So,
Okay.
I'm I'm open to whatever. We got 2 or 3 different ideas, so we can either leave it open and bring it back with the EMR bylaws next month, and you can noodle it over, or make a decision
Would it
tonight.
be easier or harder on you, one way or the other? Doing time or just doing a monthly pay? Does that have any effect?
If he wants to add it on to his time when we pay him quarterly, I think that would be, that would be easier for me. I mean, if he wants to cut a check, every month during the board meeting, that's fine as well. I don't know how many hours that you put in every month. If that's something that's.
That's,
We have, because that's where the time is when I write up our calls. And for everybody to see at the meetings, I mean, the agenda takes maybe an hour, but I mean, it depends, like now in the summer when we get into our big call volumes, it can be a couple hours sitting there typing it all up, but.
my feelings are, you're gonna get less, complaints and less, are you sure Kurt's putting that many hours in if you give him a set per month? And not just Kurt, any crew, or EMR crew chief. You get people questioning, saying, well, did he really spend 4 hours that week writing up those 2 reports? You know what I mean? So I think you're gonna get backlash if also in 1 month he's got $300 because he's got 25 hours in, and the next month he's got 2 hours and $30. You know what I mean? I think a lump, in my opinion, I think just each month would be a lot easier, cleaner, and less questions.
I have
Go ahead.
Can you tell me exactly what happens? I understand, doesn't the person going on a call have to do a card of some kind with the report, so they have filled all that out?
No,
And you just,
it's all different things we use in the service now. So like, I'll sit down, I can see who went, and I showed Trent how it works. So if they don't click in there, they don't get paid. So at the end of the day, it's me going through every month and typing out and who was on the call. And if they don't click into that system, they don't get anything. So if they forget, that's on them, not. But no, we don't fill time cards out at every call. That'd be a paper nightmare.
Did that make sense? They actually use an app, and
It's
that
an
app
app.
goes out to everyone. And then if you're going to respond, you click into that app, and then that's Kurt's cue that they did respond to it.
Did you have a comment, Linda?
I agree with Supervisor Hayne, that should just be a flat fee. Otherwise, you're getting into record keeping and hourly. And personally, I'm okay with the $100.
So since we don't have it in our budget, not that we couldn't handle it, someone should probably make a motion to make that change, if that's where you want to go.
To be paid quarterly in simultaneous with the regular check, so that Amy doesn't have to do extra checks every month.
Is that your motion?
Is that a
Do we
motion?
need to amend, do we need to make a motion to amend the budget to allow this?
We'll take care of that.
Okay.
That little bit won't matter.
If it doesn't go over that, if we don't exceed that category, we should be okay. And I think we budget
I think we have excess in there.
looking forward that, for excesses. And
If I might ask, budget-wise, do you want me to take that out of mine, though? Is that gonna be out of my pay budget? You know what I'm saying? Because my budget has that in there too, so, just so I know, because I've been watching my budget pretty close, so.
Well, it's
I guess that's more of an Amy question, but,
the
We'll talk
budget
about
is
it later.
broken out.
okay.
The budget is broken out, emergency medical responders. We have EMR call pays, we have EMR refresher expense, we have meetings and training, supplies, and then, that's it. Call pay, refresher, meetings, I would say it would fall under meetings, but.
Well, where are we at with call pay, percentage-wise?
Well, the budget would tell us.
I don't think it'll present really a problem
Okay,
because,
so right now we are at, all right, so call pay, we budgeted 6,000, we're at 1,600. This is through April.
Which is only their
Budgeted
first
1,000
quarter.
for refresher, and we haven't spent anything. We budgeted 6,000 for meetings and trainings. We've spent roughly $800. And supplies were, we budgeted 5 when we're at almost 15.
So we're good, and we have
We've
certainly a
only
lot
used
of.
21% of our budgeted
budget.
numbers.
We can fit it
Okay,
in.
so budget's not a concern. We'll shuffle it around. We'll take it out of your pocket next year.
That's okay.
So then, yeah, so next year's budget, we'll add a line item.
Right.
For
Which is
EMR
easy.
chief.
All right, so back to Amy's question of you, Linda. Do you want to make, or were you making a motion there?
Well, are you on that committee, Mark?
Okay. Yeah, I can
That would be a good idea.
make that motion to add a $1,200 annual salary for the EMR crew chief.
All right, motion by Trent, second by?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, back to a little discussion this evening about road work and also some nuisance property updates. So we all went around and visited, I think I covered 82 miles on the day of the road tour with the town board and looked at a variety of roads, some which were brought to us by different townspeople and some that we discovered as we bounced around the town. And we had some carryover road work from last year. We have a budget this year of $400,000. We got numbers back from the county on Dunn Road to Pond Road, which I'm one page behind, sorry. Completing from Pond Road to Bechtel, excuse me. On Dunn Road, Pond Road to Bechtel. So that's 5,500 feet, and the bid there was $155,000. Last year, the bid for that road, just so you're aware, was $141,000. The difference between last year and this year is, last year it was an overlay, this year it's a reconstruction, which means we start at the base. Then we have the LRIP project, which is Whitefish Bay from Country View to Matthey, another 5,280 feet. And last year, the quote on that was $129,000. This year, it's $151,000. This is an LRIP project where most of the pavement is paid through a grant that we received. Again, the difference in the county bid, last year this was a wedge and overlay versus a reconstruction. So that makes up the difference for the two. So essentially between those two carryover projects, we're around $300,000. Then we've also went out and looked at Apple Road from Old OR. It says a dead-end road, 1,700 feet, and I think as all of you saw, that road is in pretty tough shape. And it's a candidate to be repaved. Now, in this case, we would not do a reconstruction, but we would do a wedge to bring the road up to the right grade and then do an overlay. It's a road that obviously doesn't get a lot of traffic, given the number of residents, but it's in pretty difficult shape. So that would take us, if we decide to do those roads, to roughly right $340,000. We also went out and had an estimate from the county for West Whitefish Bay Road from Harder Hill to the terminus, which is approximately 2,900 feet. And they would do the cul-de-sac as well. And in this case, the road would be pulverized, so we would do a reconstruction and put 2.5-inch compacted hot mix asphalt and then shoulder the side of the road. That bid came in at $99,339. So we'd have to make a determination as to what our priorities are, and obviously we don't want to go over the $400,000, at least by not another 50 grand. We also received from the county, and these are for 2025 projects, bids for Whitefish Bay Road from Highway 42 to County HH, which is more than a mile, for $225,000. And another section of Walker Road from Highway 42 to Peterson. And this goes past the Northeast Asphalt Quarry. That road we've done some patching and repair to, but it's coming up as a problem. So it's on our list for next year, and that came in at $194,000. And those bids will be updated next year, but to give us a ballpark of where we stand. And not on this list, not knowing what our timetable is Shower Road, depending on what that project, where that project ends up, whether we get at that next year, how much we share that cost with the county, and what kind of grants we might obtain. But just as an FYI, that could be around $150,000, depending on the route and the way it's repaved. So those are, that's the recap from what we have, and then I have one other note here. There's a couple options. I'm not sure we'd want to take them. One is we could downgrade the Dunn Road project from a reconstruction to a wedge and overlay. That would save us 15 grand. But quite frankly, based on the way the roads have been, that have been reconstructed are lasting, I would say it would be a waste of money to take that route. We'll get a much better life out of a total reconstruction. We could waive, pass on Apple Road, but I think if we pass on Apple Road, it's going to maybe come back to haunt us, because there may not be enough there to wedge and overlay, and we may be into a reconstruction. And then I discussed with the county a way to try and do Whitefish Bay Road. And I said, okay, so let's do half of Whitefish Bay Road. Now, Whitefish Bay Road from Harder Hill, if you remember, there was a seam there. We went back into the records, and that was paved in 2010, which is the part with the curve going up. I can't think of the fellow's name, but I think it was 700 feet, if I find my note. So it's $99,000 to do that. So we said, okay, what do you think we should do? He said, well, if you're going to do half of that road, then I would go and redo the piece that was done in 2010, because that encompasses the curve where there's, and some break-offs on the edges, and to spend our money there. And that would put us in at $400,000, and then we'd have to pick up the second half of that in 2025, which would be the other way. And in conversation, there was one other option that was on the table, and I don't know if we want to take it or not, but I'll leave it up to you guys. The county could squeeze in our roads, Whitefish Bay, Dunn, and Apple, in June, which is, usually it doesn't get done till August. So he said he would swing through and make sure that we get those roads done in June, and then he would bill us so that we know what we spent, which is key, because obviously these are bids. We never know where they're going to come in. But if they're under the bid, we would do more of Whitefish Bay. If we're over the bid, we would do less or none. It's a little, it's throwing the dice, but it's an option.
Those three projects, we're looking at almost 350.
343, yeah, 350 roughly,
Yeah.
right?
But we've been fortunate that estimates have been higher than actual
Right.
for the last couple of years anyway,
Yep.
which is great.
Yeah, and if they did that option, they would not, they wouldn't start on West Whitefish Bay till August. It could even be later, but depending on the billing and when they can get there, because this would be a reconstruction, and in order to do reconstructions, they have to get the equipment in. That equipment comes in from another company.
For
So-
West Whitefish Bay from Harder to the end, it seems to me that cul-de-sac at the end was not in that bad shape.
Stop there.
Could you stop there? And I don't know how much money we would save though, but it is a pretty big cul-de-sac.
100 by 100 radius, it says. I mean,
It's
Yeah.
big, yeah.
I didn't think the cul-de-sac was in that bad a shape
Probably doesn't get used.
Well,
because
the
it
roads-
doesn't get as much traffic.
No.
The road itself the road itself is the finest piece of alligatoring you've probably seen in the county, but it is also intact.
Yeah.
So that's the predicament. I mean, it's busted. I am surprised that a snowplow hasn't gone down there one day and just lifted huge sections of it, but for whatever reason, those pieces are stuck like glue down there, so. But anyway, so those are our options.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable option, as far as not doing that cul-de-sac, because if you think about it, it's not really used. The snowplow probably turns around there, but that's about it. Because there's not even a home off that cul-de-sac, is there? Is there one?
There's a vacant lot
There's a vacant lot, that's what I remember.
and one home.
One home, okay.
So if we made a motion to go with those 3 projects,
We'll reassess after.
hopefully to be accomplished in June, and then see what kind of numbers, as long as we can get our numbers as soon as we can. Because sometimes there's a delay there, getting the actual numbers.
Well, so you're,
Reevaluate.
okay. So let me take my swing at it. So we'll do Dunn, West Whitefish Bay, and Apple, and we'll do half of West Whitefish Bay.
Oh, that's not what I had in mind.
Okay, come back to me then. It's all
I
right.
have in mind that we do Dunn Road from Pond to Bechtel,
Yep,
that's 155. We do Whitefish Bay, Country View to Matthew, that's part of the LRIP.
Yep.
There's another 150,000.
Yep.
We do Apple,
yep,
from Old Award to the end, 44,000. Get that accomplished in June, see where we stand as far as billing goes, and then take another look at finishing off Whitefish Bay and try to get an estimate without doing the cul-de-sac. That's what I
Yeah, that's so,
You don't like that?
that's your
The
340.
chairman doesn't like it.
So Whitefish Bay from Harder to the end would be put on hold for now until we get final numbers on the other 3 projects.
yes, I'm good with that. But depending on where our numbers come back, we're going to be under budget, so then we'll have to find, I don't want to say we have to find, but we would have to go back and select another portion of a different road.
Or do half of Whitefish Bay.
or do
like
half-
suggested.
Yeah,
Okay.
just do
Don't
it.
remember
All right.
2010 portion.
I will get the input from Randy on what he thinks the turnaround is, the cul-de-sac, and see what those estimates might be. And get his opinion on where to go. Okay. So we want to approve Dunn, Apple, Whitefish, Country View, correct, in a motion?
Yes.
And we will just leave Apple sit, no, excuse me, not Apple,
West
West Whitefish Bay, just leave it stand
On hold
until
for- on hold for
July.
now.
Okay, I'm good with that. Somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right.
So the 3 projects that we've discussed, and Whitefish Bay, Harder Hill to the end, on hold for now, or pending.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Motion by Linda, second by Mark. Amy, are you squared on this?
I am.
Okay, good, I'm glad you are. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. We will go with it, and we'll have some more information for our next meeting. All right, great. All right, just on the notes that are in there, by the way, I have turned back into the county all of the signs, all of the information that they needed for road maintenance and potholes. And I've also turned over the tree concerns to Acorn, and I've asked for some repricing on Haberly. Haberly, I
Speaking
think.
of tree trimming and brushing, Amy had someone come in about Matthew and Rip, and and I looked at that on my way out here tonight, especially with all the heavy-duty trucks going in and out. So if you're coming off of RIP, looking towards Highway 57, those trees are really out. You have to kind of nose out, so that should maybe be a priority since they're still hauling blacktop.
All right, we'll see what we find.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, the other piece that we did while we were on our road tour was we visited a few of our less beautified properties. Let's just say that. I'll just give you an update on the ones that we have been chasing. The Brandt property, which had a meeting with the attorney at the court last week. The recommendation from the attorney was that he would do a stipulation, deferred prosecution on the fines that are outstanding and hold them open for 6 to 12 month window. If the property reverts back to what it has in the past, he'll take it back to court and the fines will be due, and he'll resolve it. There has been some movement there. There's a couple things that I asked him to put in that document, one of which is the car that's sitting out there, a couple other things, so hopefully he will do that. We'll know more in a week or 10 days. So hopefully that property will, once and for all, be removed. Amy, you just sent the letter, or the letter's going out tomorrow on the construction debris that we found? In that case, Tyler is recommending that if there isn't swift action, that we fine them immediately and then go back to the court for abating a public nuisance. So we'll see what happens there. The Rushi property continues to continue. They've heard nothing from any attorney that she may have hired. We did send out another violation. We've heard nothing to date, I believe, correct?
No, that's correct.
And this is on the farm property, not on the house.
Right, I did see a vehicle at the, I'll call it the market property, the house and market. Used to be a farm market.
Yeah,
I did see a vehicle there.
okay. Well, there's lots of
Maybe-
vehicles there.
No, a new one.
Oh, you
newer
mean a running vehicle?
An operating.
Oh, an operating
Probably
vehicle.
a licensed vehicle, so maybe there is going to be some cleanup.
Well, that would be very exciting. I talked to the owner, Robert Shartner, of the property that we visited with all the trailers, the motor home, et cetera, and he's gotten in contact with that owner, and they've started to make some cleanup, started to move some vehicles and trailers and everything. He assures me that he's going to follow through with this guy and get this taken care of. I've given him some time to do that. I'll circle back with him if they don't make progress on it. It's his hope that in the near future it will not be a rental, which would be good news. There was a picture that I had of his property from 10 years ago. It looked like the Taj Mahal. I mean, you would not have thought it was the same thing. And over the years, they've accumulated so much stuff, it's unbelievable. So anyway, I think we made progress there. And Mark, you said, I can't remember the fellas' names.
Mike and Chris.
Yeah, that they've made some progress already on their yard on
Saw 'em out there
Herdman.
twice.
Well, that's great,
Out there.
because they had the largest collection of used appliances that I've seen in a long time in the front yard, so apparently we're making a difference. We still have an issue with the moors regarding the vehicles there. I went by there today, nothing's changed. But we're slowly getting most of these people to cooperate, which is great. I mean, the idea is not have your yard filled with trash, so at least that's the thought. And all of those letters and pictures you have in your book, so you've seen that. I talked to the Shartners, good there. Rushi, all right. Okay, next item to do is we have to accept the bids that Door County Highway Department did for the LRIP
Derek is
project.
on the-
Pardon me?
Derek is.
Hey,
Yeah.
just one quick question before we get to the next part. Double backing to the tree issues. I don't know what's the full issue that's going on with County P and Country View, but the guy that owns that big field is clear cutting all the good trees,
Right.
but leaving the dead trees up. I'm feeling that the dead trees are gonna cause an issue once they're cleared out. So can you contact them, do all or nothing, or what's gonna happen? Because all of the trees that are left up right now are all dead trees.
I think that man has been doing us a monumental favor. And the reason being is that most of those trees are in the road right away. And I would really not want to pay for all of the work that he's done. I don't know why he wouldn't have taken down the last trees, because he's basically taken everything else down in that area. So I don't know if it's just a tree that hasn't leafed out and maybe it isn't dead, or, because we went by there as well.
Those trees are completely dead. I mean, they're a woodpecker special. I mean, literally, they're wholly, you can start seeing through them. There's not even a single leaf on them, the ones that are left out there.
Well, we can certainly try. The problem we have with ash trees, I don't care what road you go down, they're just waiting to fall over. I mean, at some point in time, the county's going to be inundated, all the roads will be closed because they're going to be falling down in groups. I mean, there are so many standing. See what's up.
Concern with them being dead, that because they're getting rid of all the ones that are around it and putting them up, that one good wind and it's going to knock them down and it's in the road. That's my concern.
Do we know? I know we can look it up. I mean, go ahead.
I have a feeling that he's logging the good wood while it's still good, and probably come back and get rid of those dead trees later on. But he's trying to salvage some usable wood before they die as well.
Possibly.
That's my thought.
Could be right, because ash trees, after they've been dead a few years, are not
They're
good
not
for
even-
anything but
they're not good.
not lumber, but firewood.
Yep.
So we'll see what we can find out. All right. Going back to the acceptance of the Northeast Asphalt bid, the process for the LRIP is the county goes out and bids for this asphalt, and we need to just take a motion. We need to accept those bids, so a motion is all that's really required. They act in our behalf.
Did they disclose the amount for the hot mix to us? I mean, I think they opened them in April. Did they disclose the amount to us? Or it doesn't matter at this point, I guess. Our
No,
grant is for
I
the
don't
hot
think
mix.
it's, yes, Sturgeon Bay.
It was on there.
Yeah, it's on the third sheet, the bid form.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, in fact, it was interesting, I remember reading that the Sturgeon Bay plant and the Bailey's Harbor, or the Sturgeon Bay and Matthew plant were actually literally the same price.
Oh, yeah,
So depending on where the asphalt comes from.
yeah.
So, all right. So who wants to make that motion to accept those?
I can make a motion to accept those bids.
All right. Motion by Trent,
Second.
second by Mark. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries, all right.
Do we have to award it too?
Not, all I know is we needed to formally accept it, since they're acting on our behalf,
Okay.
so. Okay. Next item is more of an FYI in anything. It comes from Brett Gillett, our building inspector, asking to increase the electric service permit fees from 50 to, from 50 or 60, depending on residential or commercial, to $75 for both. And he's asking us to make that change if you have a feeling one way or the other. If not, we'll
Do
tell
you need
him.
a formal action or not?
I don't think so. I mean, he probably tweaks other things that we may not even be in the loop.
I'm okay with it.
Okay, no one has a problem, just so that you know. If you recall, the town is part of the Town Advocacy Council, part of the Wisconsin Towns Association. We contribute towards the town's, what's the word I want?
It used to be the Urban Towns Committee, and now it's the Town Advocacy Council
Right,
of Wisconsin Towns Association. Yes, we do pay dues to
to those,
be a
separate
member
from
of
that.
TAC.
Right,
very nominal, it's 25 cents per population.
And they work the ears of the legislatures on our behalf. So coming up at next week's Wisconsin Towns Association meeting in Fish Creek, their representative, one of the representatives is going to take our input, ours and all of the other towns that are part of the Advocacy Council, and consolidate that and communicate it back through the WTA and Wisconsin Advocacy Council. So they're looking for any input from us, and I thought rather than leave Linda out there all by herself trying to create that, we'd throw some ideas on paper and help her out.
Dan, the meeting is in 3 days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's on
sorry,
Thursday.
Thursday
Next
night.
week, so just.
Yeah, that's correct,
looks like
Thursday
we was gonna
night.
go,
It's on
but
Thursday, yeah.
So
outside the committee.
anyone would like to contribute an idea?
You can just bring them to the meeting, or send me an email if you have some thoughts. I have a couple thoughts.
Well, I have a couple. So
Okay.
one is, I think is already on your thought process, which is the room tax split.
Oh, yes, I was going to mention that.
I think that is something that should be looked at, and especially, you know, I hate to say that, in that we've gotten some money out of that, but I still agree with you. Continued focus on road funding. Two of the gentlemen that left here sent me a note regarding our funding and, you know, why we can't spend more on roads, so I think that's part of it. And the other one might be a stretch, but if you go into our parks, particularly Potawatomi, because it's like the little sister of the parks up here, they really need some work done. For example, their roads are just horrible. And those parks draw tourists to our community. And our governor has a rainy day fund that's in the billions of dollars. I'd like to see him say, let's give these parks a one-time payment to let them play catch-up so they can take care of the things out there that are really in bad shape, and then let them budget accordingly. But, you know, there's an excess of funds sitting out there, and they could pass it out to some of these parks and bring them up to where they should be. There are many areas, I'm sure, inside the park that they could focus on, but roadways alone are, for the most part, miserable. You go into Potawatomi, it's, you know, hang on to your teeth. So,
Have you been through Peninsula Park lately? They have paved that,
right. Well,
I think,
Peninsula
last summer.
Peninsula Park is what, the number 2 park in the state behind Devil's Lake. You know, so they generate a lot of revenue, but the other parks, you know, are still there and, you know, are not getting the necessary funds. So if it affects tourism, I think, you know, maybe it affects us. So throw it out there. Anyone else? Did I stir anybody's thoughts?
Regarding that room tax split, we're actually going to have 3 people there from Destination Door County, so.
Oh, good news. All right.
I wish I could be there.
You're not going to go there Thursday night? Oh,
I
you
usually
really
go,
should.
but I can't go this time.
All right. So committee assignments, this is an updated list. I made a couple updates to the communications. These people have actually been on there, but I don't think we formally have acknowledged it. Ryan and Denise. Then under the Plant Commission, the addition of Trent, same with the Park and Rec Committee. And Trent's on the EMR committee, and I don't know that we ever formally accepted the fact that Kurt was made the crew chief, and in that, under our new guidelines excuse me, that person is appointed by the town board, all right? And so I have him in there as well. And then, Trent, I don't know that you know this, but you're on our ethics committee, so.
Saw that in the notes. So.
Yeah, well, it is a very viable committee. And I'm not sure that our records will show when our last meeting was, but feel free to call one. So, anyway, just wanted to give you that, and you want to make a motion to approve, and we'll be done formally.
I'll make a motion to accept the committee assignment updates.
All right, motion by Mark, second by
I'll second that motion.
Linda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. All right, financial reports. Well, let me back up.
Skip
for a
those
second. No, that's all right.
ordinances.
We'll do the
Ordinances.
financials.
You love skipping those ordinances and resolutions.
We don't have any ordinances
There's
and
no.
resolutions, so we're good to go. You do have the account balances, the budget versus actual, January through April, and you have the transactions by date, and everybody has signed everything under the sun? Okay, so we're good there. So Amy, do you have anything that you'd like to add to this month's financials?
Yes, we're very excited because the first 4 months of April, we have now exceeded the interest earned. So everything else is gravy from here. So very excited about that. The short-term rentals are coming in. I think I have about 40 that I've licensed so far. So we're looking at another 40 to go before July 1st. And same with liquor license. We sent those out, and those will be in before June 1st. Yes, June 1st. They need to be in because we do have to publish those. So we're getting revenue from both of those entities. So we're doing really good.
Good. All right, thank you.
Yep.
So motion to approve the financial reports would be,
I'll move to approve the financial reports for April of 2024 as presented.
all right, motion by Linda, second.
Second.
Second by Jeannie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? No one. Okay, great. Approval of vouchers, bills, and claims, and everybody signed those, so
Oh, would you like a motion?
I would indeed.
I'll make a motion to accept the vouchers, bills, and claims from April 16th, 2024 through May 20th, 2024.
All right,
Second.
motion, all right. Motion by Jean, second by Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, done, thank you. Oral committee or commission reports. So if anyone has anything, now would be the time. Would you have something, Linda?
I would.
Linda's got something.
So at your desk, you have Door County's, Destination Door County Stewardship Plan. They're also in the process of doing a strategic plan, so lots going on with Destination Door County. Ms. Vogel and I attended that session on April 24th in Egg Harbor. Let's see, we had the Executive Committee of the Tourism Zone last Thursday. Again, short-term rentals account for 77% of all the permits issued. Total permits as of April of 2024, 1,535. Revenues, we accepted the audit report of the zone last week at our meeting. And room tax revenues for the year were, on my cryptic notes here, 11.3 million. And of course, 30% goes to the municipalities, 70% goes to Destination Door County, and about 400,000 is allocated to the zone for their operation and administrative and all that. I'll keep that short because I want to mention one other thing. I did attend the National Emergency Management workshop last week. I don't know where my notes went, but they did stress, make sure that you have your emergency management plan on file, up to date. I know we have a big binder, but we might want to take a look at that, because if we have not delegated who our incident manager is going to be, it falls to the chief officer of the municipality. So I would just encourage us to take a look at that.
Really?
That's a good project for our emergency, our EMR committee to just pull that binder, maybe contact Jeb Salins. He's the new emergency management director at the county now, and just check with him, is there anything the town of Sevastopol needs to do? Sure. Because it is important. If we had an incident, it was really interesting, the different scenarios, and, you know, who do you call?
Who created
You don't
that?
call Ghostbusters.
Do you recall?
It was created back,
It's been long.
yeah, I'm gonna say like 2008.
No, it's perfect for Trent. He likes old documents.
How many versions?
8 or 9.
I don't know where my notes went, because like I said, it was a really interesting session, and just, okay, if something would happen at the town hall here, or something happens between, and it's multi-jurisdictional or something on the border, I mean, you've got a whole bunch of people involved, and you need to have that one person that you're gonna reach out to and say, take control.
That was at that last month's town board
They talked
association.
about
Yeah, that was really
the
interesting.
unit
'cause-
meeting, yeah.
The unit meeting, because that, literally that day, they had a milk truck turnover
That's right.
just north of here. Over on the other side, but, so they actually had, that guy was there, you know, because here you got your emergency services guys there, and that's not what they're supposed to be taking care of. They're supposed to be taking care of the accident on scene, not all the rest of it. It was actually really interesting. You don't think about that stuff, because you think that just the cops and the, you know, the
Right.
ambulance and fire trucks would take care of everything. There's actually a guy on scene that
Right.
rounded it all up.
I have
And
zero.
it's the NIMS, so National Incident Management System is what it's, I'm sure Mr. Zettel and Mr. Vogel are very familiar with that, because it is under the auspices of the county. But again, you need a senior official to delegate, and it's a partnership among local governments and private organizations, and it's just, you know, if we would have a disaster, everyone kind of chips in, so plan, and have it in place. And
I have zero recollection of working on that. But it'll be fun to find after Trent updates
I think
it.
there's a binder on the back shelf behind Amy's desk.
All right. Anything else from anyone else? All right. Moving on. County Board report from our District 14 Supervisor, Mr. Hugh Zettel.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and County Board members. This is the start of the new term for the County Board, and for the meeting on April 23rd, I just want to highlight a few items from the information I provided Amy in the packet. I think first was recognizing the 4 County Board Supervisors that basically kind of retired from service, including, I think, Mr. Osted, who was there, I think, north of 40 years. So some good service to the County Board. There was one amendment change. The state changed kind of regulatory authority for non-metallic mining reclamation, and we needed to update an ordinance just reflect that legislative change. Something minor there. Since this is the start of a new term, the county administrator had all the department heads basically give their 2023 kind of annual report kind of summary. So it was a good way to kind of introduce the new county board members to the various operations that go on in the county. I think probably the biggest thing I wanted to highlight is from the report from the Sheriff Department, the report from HHS, and the report from the courts. It all shows the impact that fentanyl is having in our county. So, you know, things you've heard about the crisis that was happening in the urban landscapes, you know, for the last, you know, that happened 2 or 3 years ago that was highlighted in the press. It's, you know, it's basically in our backyards right now. So it's caused a lot of shuffling of resources within the Health and Human Services Department. And it's also impacted, like I said, the courts, Sheriff's Department, and some rejiggering of budgets just to try to handle it. So it's just very sobering, you know, what you don't see, you know, that's right in front of you, but there are a ton of folks working very, very hard to help, you know, keep our county safe, help those folks in need get the proper resources and proper treatment. So I just wanted to highlight that. That's just, you know, one of the things that doesn't get talked about, but there's a lot of effort being put in. So I just want to highlight the great work that those folks are doing. You know, relative to this being a new term, there are new committee assignments, and I just want to highlight or just communicate. I'm chairing the broadband committee again for this term. Michelle Laurie from Door County Economic Development is the vice chairperson. I am no longer on Judiciary and Public Safety Committee. I've been kind of rotated to now be a member of the Finance Committee. And also, I am now the chairman of the Resource Planning Committee for this term. And as part of that effort, we approved unanimously the Bank First Cup that came before the board last month as my first action. So a lot of activities going on, some great progress in broadband. I think in her annual report of the locations that are available that for grant funding, I think there's grants that are either in process or secured for over 50% of the locations in the county that municipalities went after. So we got, I think, more than our fair share. A lot of great work by the municipality broadband leaders. So thank you, Supervisor Vogel and your team, and then for the hard work there. I think once we get some of these other grants done, I think the map of Door County is going to look very green relative to work that's in progress. We know the Frontiers work is ongoing in Jacksonport. Most of the final digging, I understand, is almost completed in Bailey's Harbor, and they're about to start work in town of Gibraltar and town of Claybank. So good work is ongoing there, and so lots of great progress there. And I think we're on the Resource Planning Committee, based on the feedback we got from the towns at their kind of workshop they had last month. There's also some ongoing work there, so we can get ahead of a good plan for working on the compliance backlog that they have in the land use department. So look forward to a productive next 2 years, and appreciate any feedback or support that I can provide the constituents. Thank you.
Thanks. You. Congratulations on that hard-won victory at the RPC.
Yeah. Who is the fifth member of the RPC? You only had 4 there Thursday.
Mr. Enigal was working, doing his building inspection job.
David was there.
David was. He came
late.
to the meeting. He was not there during the election.
No, I'm sorry, at the RPC hearing for Bank First.
Oh, I'm sorry,
there were
Claire Morgan.
4
Oh, for the hearing, yeah. Claire Morgan
Morgan. Okay.
was excused.
Just
So
wondering.
yes,
Thank you.
yes, she was not able to attend that meeting.
Hugh jogged my memory from a meeting that we were at last week, so just from the benefit of the board, we had a monthly update with AT&T on progress on the broadband, and we're still doing a little running in place as a result of the PSC slipping a date on communicating back the necessary paperwork so that we can update our contract and move on. So the new timeline, I think, is actually this week, right? Is it this week? At any rate, we hope to have that information put to bed in June, and our next call, they will hopefully have the planning and design people on
June
online.
11th, I think it is.
Yeah, June 11th.
Next call.
So it's
Well, that's our next meeting.
yeah. So
not
we're
their
just kind of
fault.
hanging out there
It's the-
because of our friends
the
at
way
the
it's going.
the
It's,
PSC.
it's a federal
always
grant, just keep in mind, it's a federal grant, a lot more hoops to jump through.
Yes.
So you can't really blame AT&T on.
Could I make one more comment?
Sure.
One more comment regarding, I guess it's county-related, but at our unit meeting on Thursday night, we do have 3 people coming from the county. We have Joe Kresbach and Allie McDonald from Health and Human Services, and Sean Donahue, who is our corporate counsel, and the topic is hoarding. So maybe we can look to them for some support when it comes to this cleanup of the on-camp premises.
Yeah, and they're, yes.
It's always nice to have a bigger
Correct.
entity behind you.
Possibly.
Okay, I have to back up here a minute, folks, because after we had the oral committee reports, I forgot to have the Park and Rec meeting minutes approved from, believe it or not, last October. So we want to make a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion to put on file the Park and Rec's minute meetings from last October.
All right, motion by Mark, second by
I'll second.
So I said minute meeting, I said it backwards, but you'll do it right.
okay.
Thank you.
What?
I said minute meetings instead of meeting minutes.
Oh, okay.
Every once in a while, dyslexia just jumps up.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion, we're back current. All right, license and permits, you have the inspection specialist report, which we get monthly. And after having met with Mariah's group last month, we found out that there's a way to start pulling our building permits again, which we haven't had for a long time. So you have that with you. And, you know, if you're cruising around someday and you see a lot of new construction and their name isn't on one of these lists, call someone. Call your favorite building inspector, all right?
Did you get that off of City Squared, or did you
Yes.
have to? Okay.
I did. I had to sign up, and you go here and there.
Oh, wow.
Stand on your
Yeah.
head,
Thanks.
wave your arm, and then I got it.
And then that left us with correspondence. And someone in the state named Evers proclaimed, Office of the Governor, professional municipal clerks play a critical, important role in local government and election administration, and he is recognizing all of our clerks. So she has a nice certificate that went directly to our clerk. And believe it or not, there was all kinds of correspondence telling Amy what a wonderful job she has done.
Yes.
And I can only say that I would wholeheartedly agree with these positive comments because she does a great job for us. So thank you. We probably should have had a cake. Maybe next month. But thank you.
The cake could have been for you.
Lots of recognition.
Had a cake.
Pardon me?
Yes, we could have.
We
We could have had a cake. Thank God we
His
didn't.
85th birthday tonight.
Yeah. All
He won't
right.
tell us his age, so I'm just make it up.
The,
He's the oldest one in the room.
damn near. Okay, what's in here? Oh, tourism zone. We have a couple places that you're aware of, short-term rental problems, and that owe the tourism zone money and thereby owe us some money. And one of the individuals that is a part owner in these two dwellings popped in and was unaware of the fact that her partner hadn't contributed, and she stepped out to talk to the room tax people and supposedly to bring up their account current, or at least on one of the two. So that would be good news. Yes?
I know, I didn't have my notes, but another thing that the zone is pursuing is, and Amy and I have talked about this as well, if your property or if you're permitted under an LLC, you better be in good standing with the state of Wisconsin, because the zone is going to pay attention to that and check for up-to-date records, and I think that's probably something we want to incorporate into our short-term rental ordinance when we amend it once again. That you must be in good standing if you are operating as an LLC.
And we're going to add to that, your fees have to be paid to the zone, right?
If we can, right?
Yeah, if we can, so that we don't,
Delinquent taxes, room taxes.
Yeah.
we do that right now.
In order to
with-
get a permit in our
Right.
town, yeah.
We do that right now with a liquor permit. You have to be current on virtually everything. If you're not, we can withhold it. So they actually slip through the cracks because even though it's our money, it comes through the zone first.
Right.
Okay, so also in there is a notice of payment of personal property tax aid and payment in lieu of taxes from the state for the DNR. This one's kind of interesting, Creation Water Walk. This came to me from someone on Glidden Drive, and I passed it off to the sheriff, and the sheriff was totally unaware of it. But apparently, there's a group of people that are going to start at the top of the peninsula and walk all the way down to Kewanee. And guess what roads they're taking? I'm thinking they're going to be on Glidden, Bark, a few of those water-based roads. So just as an FYI, you'll never guess the dates they want to do this, but it's Memorial Day weekend. 25th, 6th, 7th of this year.
I
So,
hope they're wearing orange.
yes, we'll see what happens. As Mark mentioned, the WTA meeting is Thursday, May 23rd, 6 p.m. at the Gibraltar Fire Station. And I think, did we put this out here, the breakdown of the fees?
We have not. We're going to do that
Okay.
for next month.
Oh, we were. Okay, well, I'll tell you, and we'll get rid of it and be done with it. Out of our $15,000 that we were owed on
From
the
Porter.
From the Porter short-term rental.
Okay.
Our net is $11,710. Now, that does not include our attorney's fees. Of that amount of money, of the $15,000, $12.50 went to the circuit courts, $5 to CCAP, $13 to the crime lab, $68 to the court support service surcharge, $117 went to the jail. The justice information surcharge was $21.50, and $3,044 went to the penalty surcharge pen. God knows what that is. But $3,167 evaporated out of that amount, and we'll still pay our attorney. I don't know how the attorney gets paid out of this.
I don't get that, because that was a civil action.
It ended up in our
And-
court.
Yes, but usually when it's a civil action, you don't have criminal penalties.
Amy went and chased it down with Connie, right?
Yep, Connie DeFair, because it went through, it started in circuit court,
Right.
and then we worked it out with him through our attorney, but it started in circuit court. So
I
mean, you
can't
talk about
figure
the-
that out.
it
You talk
needed,
about the
Not a
reach.
Seems
criminal.
weird.
they needed to get their piece of the pie.
If you think you can get us back our money, I'd be appreciative, but I mean, she went through it, to look at this. Yeah, I think on a $500 fine, we get a $1.280.
That
So-
I can understand, a citation is different.
Yeah, it was
Civil
kind of
suit,
cool.
I
All right,
get it.
so we've already talked about the WTA. Our next board meeting is June 17th at 7 PM. I have nothing else to share with you, so a motion to adjourn would be in order.
Mike, motion to adjourn.
All right. Motion by Trent. I wonder, is it the chair that makes the motion or the person? Second by Mark to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It seems like everybody who sits in that end chair ends up making a motion to go.
Told that was my responsibility.